Good morning, Mr. Johnson. How are you?
Good morning. Very good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Well, the first question I would like to ask you is, were you in supporter of the city the first time and the second time? And if so, why? And if not, why?
Okay. The first time I did not vote on it because I did not have enough information based on what I saw out there. I was an HOA president for Parkside Subdivision at the time, and we were trying to get information, and what I found I did not. So I didn't vote either way on it. The second time, as you know, I got involved when I did the analysis on it and saw the feasibility study. I jumped right in, right away, and I've been engaged ever since and fully supported, helping to lead the effort to get the word out and being down at the Capitol and lobbying and everything like that, knocking on doors. So I have never wavered from that time on. Once I saw the numbers, and to me it was a no-brainer.
Okay. In terms of vision, this is a startup city. So I want you to think 4 years down the road. Your first term is about up, and you're about to give the state of the city address. What are you getting ready to tell us?
Well, I was a project manager, so I always think the way I'm looking at this is 20 years out, 1, 5, etc.
Well,
so
you only get 4 years to serve.
I get that, but here, why it's important?
But let's talk about the 4 years.
But that's what I'm talking about, because why it's important is what we do in that 4 years has to be beneficial 20 years down the road. So 4 years from now, the state of the city address should be that we have established this city quickly and efficiently, and we are starting the process. Our economic development.
Okay, you have done this 4 years, so you're giving us what you've done,
yes,
not what you're projecting to do. Talk about what you have done.
Police,
over the last
fire is up and running. The residents, we would have a survey of the residents that will give us direct feedback on how we are performing as a city. I will be giving that as part of that address and giving the results of that. That would be visible.
Results? That's what we're looking for.
The results would be that the citizens are trending positively, that they are proud of the city. My litmus test for the city, the success of the city, is that the residents of our city are proud to be from whatever the name of the new city is, because we're going to change the name. I believe that's important. The name would have been changed, the branding would have been established, the marketing would have been established, and we would be telling the story that we are a successful city 4 years from now and trending in the right direction. Along with that, we would be talking about here's how far we've come and here's where we're headed.
Okay, I'm gonna try to do it one more time.
Okay.
You are already down this 4-year path. I'm asking you to tell me what the accomplishments are. What do we get done in these 4 years? What you're telling me is you're projecting out, but
okay.
I'm trying to understand. Visualize that you have been there for 4 years. What did you accomplish specifically?
Specifically, we would be issuing job numbers in the number of jobs that we've brought in, and not only.
How many jobs are you talking about?
I don't have that number today. And one of the things you'll know is I'm a straight shooter. So I don't have that number today because it is going to depend on how we establish the focus. One of the goals that I have is for us to become Silicon South.
Okay.
And what that means is I'm going after cyber and financial technology jobs in addition to, I'm not only interested in warehouse jobs. So I'm looking for the real jobs coming into our city.
How are you going to do that?
The way we're going to do that, again, first thing is we got to brand the city. So when we brand the city, establish, one of the pillars is standing up the economic development team. We have to tell our story. We don't have the full demographics of our city today to be able to tell the companies that are interested in this area, and they are already interested in this area, that we have an educated force, that the average home income, the average price. For example, when they look at us, our average age is 38 and our income compared to other cities. They're not counting our retirement incomes. So they really aren't counting our true value. They're looking strictly at payroll taxes. And so the marketing department, as part of the economic development, will be going out and bringing that to the companies to attract the right type of services and businesses into our area. With the Aerotropolis plan, the ARC plan, the 2035 comprehensive plan, and I know that from my Leadership Atlanta experience, they're already looking at this. And they have projected numbers in what they think that the numbers will come into the area.
You keep saying they. Who is they?
Those organizations I just mentioned, the ARC Atlanta Regional Commission, the Aerotropolis organization has done that, and marrying that with the 2035 comprehensive plan and the development that they're talking about in that plan. Putting those together as the vision is how I have projected that business is coming to South Fulton.
Okay, all of that you just mentioned, all of those entities, all of those are external to our city. So given what you just said, how do you make sure that the people who live in our city are also growing and benefiting from all of these external plans that you just talked about?
I'm glad you asked that question. I've already met with the Aerotropolis, for example. So yes, technically they're an external organization, but their entire goal is to partner with the cities. So they have already been partnering with the City of College Park, East Point, Atlanta, and they're looking at us, waiting for us to come on board. So in the conversations I've had with them, they're looking at, they were very excited about my 20-year vision. And when they said, when you get elected, come sit back down with us, we're going to sit down and look at our plans and yours. So we talk about that. Branding, they're going to rebrand the entrances to our city. They're launching a new brand.
You're saying they are going to, I'm trying to figure out what is our involvement in their plan.
We are now going to be at the table. Right now, we're on the menu, in my opinion. We will have a voice. When I sit back and I look and I see the 14 mayors are meeting with Fulton County and making decisions, we're not at the table. We will now have a voice through our mayor and city council to be at the table and have those conversations and look for the opportunities to partner. So as those 44 companies, talking about Aerotropolis specifically, as they look at spending that money and bringing businesses into the area, that's the opportunity to partner with them. And by the way, Aerotropolis does include the city of South Fulton because they go all the way up to Butner and Camp Creek. That's our city. They're planning to put a multi-use trail from the river straight down Camp Creek behind the golf course all the way down to the city of College Park. That's our city. So that's why I keep saying they have plans, but they have plans in our city. That's where we as a city leadership will partner with them to bring in the right types of businesses, et cetera.
So some of the concerns in relationship to this from our constituents is the fact that if you look at how the film industry came in, Fast and Furious, someone knew about it, but did not prepare our constituents to be ready to walk into those positions.
Correct.
How would you do that day one with all of the entities, outside entities, bringing in those businesses so that our constituents can take advantage of those jobs?
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons I decided to run. Because as a Leadership Atlanta alum, I'm actually getting access to this information. And I see the future where they have been planning. Again, I said my words, that we've been on the menu. The opportunity for us is to work with them to say, these are our skill sets, and we have people leaving here every day, driving out of our city, helping governments and businesses thrive and survive. The opportunity is now for us to go to the table and say, we would like to bring some of that, our talent right here. So what are the opportunities? Let's talk about Hollywood South, as they say. We film it here. We don't edit it here. We don't do all the back end stuff here. They ship it up.
Atlanta Metro South?
No, I'm talking about the film industry.
Okay.
Filming they're filming Star down the street from my house. They film it here, so the PAs, but then they're shipping off the technology elsewhere. We have land. We can offer them opportunity to bring the offices here into the city, and that's what brings the jobs in. And then when you bring those jobs in for our local people, as part of that conversation, we have to say to them, what percentage of your workforce is going to be local?
But if they're not trained, that's where I'm coming from. We need to make sure they're trained because we did not have trained individuals to take over those jobs when the industry came in. So right now, you're talking about those jobs coming in. But if we don't have the trained individuals, then how will they take advantage of the jobs that are going to be here?
Well, it depends on which industry that you're looking at. I think that the companies, we would have to have the conversation with them. What are you going to do to help us? What are the community benefits agreements that you're going to offer that kind of training locally? But I actually think we do have a lot of that talent that is doing. For example, when you look at cyber technology, I know a lot of people in IT technology that are leaving and going downtown to work for those companies. They would love to be able to go around the corner and work where they're closer to their families, not necessarily drive all the way out of the city.
Yeah, but before you get to that point, I think there's another critical phase, right? And that critical phase is transitioning from the county to cityhood, right? Because it's going to be very, very critical that the first mayor set this up correctly. So please share with us 3 or 4 activities, or what is your transitioning plan to transition from county to cityhood?
And you're talking to me on the technical things.
No, your transition plan.
So day one, so I said the other night, 12:01 midnight, we have to adopt the ordinances that Fulton County has so that we have laws that protects us. We have to adopt a budget as it exists. My recommendation is we adopt the budget as it exists and then look at the transition team and say, what do we have? Because until 12:01 midnight, we're not authorized to do anything. We can have information, but we're not authorized to do anything. So we stand that up. We then hire the city manager, either interim to start off with, but when we conduct a search for a city manager. We'll have the recommendations from the transition team, look at that. Those are the technical aspects that have to happen within the first 30 days to stand the city up. Fire chief, police chief start the transition process. Again, using my project management background, we look at that and say how, in the 2 years that we have, and we're already ticking on that clock that started in December, how do we get to that transition period and get those things? So those are the technical things that have to be started up. We have to start up all the departments, for example, looking at the talent that already exists in the Fulton County pools. But in some cases, it won't be 100% of those people. You'll be people who, for example, have the skill sets in starting up a city, as opposed to just working in a city. That may be the talent that we look at, and we should look at that, as that talent to bring that in, to look at how we stand the city up. So those are the technical things that we have to get in place right off the bat as we go forward to transition to becoming fully the city of South Fulton.
Mr. Johnson, in a city of almost 100,000 people, and the geographics of the city and how spread out and jagged it is, how will you deal, or what is your plan to deal with the police response time in our new city?
I have actually met with the police department, contrary to some of the conversations. I actually met with the police department and asked them that same question, and I offered them an idea. What about micro precincts? Approaching the businesses that have open space. You take, for example, Highway 92 and South Fulton Parkway, where the Publix is. There's open space in that space. Go to the developer, the owner of that company, and ask, can you give us an office where we can place 2 or 3 police officers? That puts the police within proximity, closer proximity of our residents. I think we have to move out of the mentality of it's just the ratio of police to residents and figure out how we have shorter response times by placing those police officers within reach of the residents, as opposed to piling them up in one side of the city or another. We have to make sure that we can serve the residents of District 4. You know, I drove all the way down to the borders of the city. I've been driving all the way around the borders and making videos of it. I'm on Ono Road, and the closest police station is Old National Highway. There's no way they can get to Ono Road in 20 to 30 minutes.
Now, you mentioned, it sounds like you're talking about sub-precincts.
Yes.
Similar to some of the precincts that I have in Camp Creek in the marketplace, East Point. And
Correct.
But with the budget that we will have for the new city, how will you deal with the manpower issue as far as police officers are concerned? How are you going to deal with it? Because right now we don't have a significant amount of police officers to do the response that needs to be done. It's almost like, you know, they get a call and they respond to a call, but it's not a dedicated or not dedicated officers to respond to a particular zone
area.
or area.
Correct. That is part of the conversation. So when I met with the police department, I asked them for their Chevy and Cadillac versions of the plan. Same thing with the fire department, and what they would ideally like to have. What we've subsequently done is I now have a gold, platinum, a silver, gold, and platinum plan. Say, if you get what is the minimum you need to provide better service for us, what would you like to have, and then what would be the absolute best situation. So I have that information and those numbers. I'm looking at encouraging the council to spend some of that surplus that we have, the $17 million surplus, to increase our numbers, reduce the overhead in terms of, for example, we have cars, the 10 new officers that are coming online, they're going to be driving the old cars. It's way above the standard that we should have. So we have to spend some money investing to add bodies, but it's also beyond bodies. We have to look at better technologies as well to complement that, because we just can't throw bodies at this. We have to be smart about how we do this. What are the technologies, working with the Verizons of the world, et cetera, to offer technologies that can help us? They're talking about wireless cameras, setting up wireless cameras around the city so that we can actually have a view. I have been part of one of my volunteer activities. I've been part of the Digital Divide organization and how we bridge that. And that's putting cameras, resources in the community so that you can actually have a central office, but then you have people out in the field where you can easily direct them. So that helps with the response time. So it's a marriage of bodies, equipment, and technology, in my opinion. What I know today, and so I caveat a lot of what I say is based on what I know today. I'm really anxious to get the transitions team's report. Hopefully I'm blessed to be mayor. But I've been digging into as much as I can and learning as much as I can, but I don't know what I don't know. So what I know today, that would be my answer.
Hey,
Hi there.
how you doing?
I'm good.
That's good. So tell me, the policemen, are you going to buy body cams and bulletproof vests to make sure that they're secure? Because we know where the precinct is, the closest one to 92 and Butner Road. So if one just happens to be out in the area, will you be able to help them kind of stay safe till they get back up? Because that's a long way. So we'll have that in the budget to be able to.
I know Fulton County just spent money putting body cams and bulletproof vests on our officers. We have to now, as we hire more police officers, that has to be in the equation. We're looking at $100,000 approximately to stand up each police officer. And that includes all of the hiring benefits, the car, the equipment, et cetera. It is a comprehensive package. So when we hire, it's just like any office or any other position. When you hire someone, you need to be able to supply them with a computer, et cetera, and that should be standard equipment for our officers and our safety professionals out in the field.
Okay, so in our budget, you know, we're not going to have enough money for that. So what do you see cutting to make sure that you have that for the police officers?
Again, we need to look at the technology. So one of the conversations I had with the police department is, do you need what are the opportunities that you have in your clerical staff that you may not need a police officer to do? Can we supplement by hiring people who are staff of the city that can do the administrative stuff so that the police can actually go out and police? So as you do that, that's an opportunity as we go forward to where we can shift some of the monies and look at that. We've been supplementing the actual presence with the police with actually the code enforcement folks. They actually transferred some of the money, the surplus that they had last year in the police over the holidays, from the police department to the code enforcement to put them out, because the code enforcement trucks look like police trucks. And that actually offered a presence out in the community. So it's thinking beyond just the police as we consider it, and what are the support? Because in my conversations with the police officers, they want to go out and police. They don't want to write a bunch of reports and do all that stuff. So we have the opportunity then where we're paying at a different scale, if you will, for administrative and clerical staff. That's where some of the savings that I have identified so far come from.
So when we do all that, where do you see the court for the city, and how do you see financing all of that, so that once the police officers do their jobs on the street and whatnot, where will they go to process, and where we have judges? Are you going? Are you looking at hiring a judge, appointing a judge to oversee the court and the clerk of the court?
That's a requirement of the city. That's one of the things that we as a city have to do. It's one of our basic requirements. So we have to stand up a court system, a municipal court system, with a chief judge and a municipal court system. So that is we're going to have to put that in our budget as we go forward. I think that's one area that, if I'm correct, we don't have covered today. But we fund, remember, we put a lot of money into Fulton County. So as we shift that money back into our area, for example, the money we pay Fulton County to administer our city, we don't have proper accounting for that money. We don't know what really goes into that. So that's one of the reasons I say, based on what I know today, I don't think it costs $4.9 million to administer a city. They go out and they repair vehicles, say the computer's broke, and they send someone over and they charge us, $80 or whatever it is. We will now have the opportunity to go out and put out RFPs, get quotes from businesses to come in and service us. And I think that's where as we look through the budget, that's where some of the opportunity, but it is our requirement to stand up a court system. And we're going to have to look at how we do that.
You made several references to having a background in project management. I thought you worked for flight attendant?
I am now a flight attendant.
Flight attendant.
Yes.
Okay, so where did you get the project management?
I was a project manager in Delta.
Okay.
So
you went from being a project manager to being a flight attendant?
Correct. I was always a qualified flight attendant. So when I was in the in-flight department, and one of the things that you do is you get qualified. So all of our leadership is qualified to be a flight attendant. And it helps. Katrina, it certainly helped, because I was able to put on my clothes and go out and actually work on the plane. I was on the first plane into New Orleans. I still smell those bodies and the mud. So every leader is qualified. Not every leader, but most leaders are qualified to be flight attendants. I was a project manager, and then I became a program manager, and I managed the charters, hotels, uniforms, our partnerships, ground transportation program, and several other marketing programs for in-flight department. I made the choice to become a flight attendant full-time because it offers me the flexibility. I know this is going to sound cliche, but I've known some of you for years. This is my heart. The community is where my juices flow. It's where I want to do. Being a flight attendant allows me the flexibility to do that. I can't do that as a program manager and a project manager when I'm responsible. I'm working 12-hour days. Now, I've been off for a week and a half, and it has allowed me the flexibility, and that actually is one of the reasons why I believe that in looking at the mayor's job, it's going to be a full-time job with part-time pay and part-time, considered part-time, but my flexibility with my schedule as a flight attendant will allow me to do that, wherein as a project manager, program manager, it would not allow me to do that.
I want to also kind of project the image of the city. Some people call it brand, and some people call it image. As we've talked in the past with others, it's if you say New York City, an image comes to mind. You say Los Angeles, an image comes to mind. Orlando, an image comes to mind. If I'm out in Podunk, America, and I say City of South Fulton, what is the image that you want people to get?
With our new name, right?
Whatever it is, we don't know what the new name is.
We don't know what the new name will be, but I'm very, that's part of the critical why we must pick the right name. We must pick the right brand because we have to go out and sell that brand. The image that, and I'm already doing it. So right now I say, I live in the city of South Fulton. Because if I tell you DeKalb and city of Decatur and the city of Decatur, you get two very different images. So I'm deliberately already saying to folks, I live in the city of South Fulton. That starts to change the image from where the press has been putting out this image of South Fulton. That's something that I plan to have the economic development and marketing team tackle, by the way, and how they brand our area as a whole, but particularly our city. The image that I would like them to see is trees, parks, safe homes, safe, clean homes and environment, but an area that is also thriving. We need to put more live, work, play opportunities into our area. And we have that opportunity again with the proximity to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. We're sitting between Hartsfield-Jackson and Fulton County Airport, which a lot of people don't realize is actually the busiest private airport in Georgia. More private traffic goes into Fulton County Charlie Brown Airport than the other airports, even PDK. We're sitting right in between those. We're not taking advantage of the proximity doing that. We need hotels, so we will stand up. We need to look at a city center and how we build that. That is a thriving area where you can walk to the coffee shop. And as part of that, we have to think about, and the zoning and planning comes in very critical. We have to think differently in how we do this. And one of the advisory boards is related to this that I plan to put in. So my couple of advisory boards is youth, businesses, seniors, and the other one is called Future Technologies. And that I plan to bring in graduate students and residents, put them together on what does the projected future look like? What do we need to have? What are the opportunities and technologies coming up? How do you build roads? What is the new technology around roads? But not just in internet, for example. But as you do that, how do we build city centers that are effective? Walking. How do you build shopping centers? If you think of Camp Creek Marketplace, the problem is they built it all around on this side and put all the parking in the middle. Reverse that, because I was on the Beltline TADAC. That's something I learned there. Reverse that, put the streetscape in the middle. If we think Camp Creek Marketplace, it's not in our city, I know that. But if you put the Target right opposite, just a wide street in the middle with some nice trees, plants, benches, etc., and you put all those stores closer together and put the parking behind it, when you walk out of the Target, now you got to get in your car to drive over to TJ Maxx. You might, I'm not going to TJ Maxx, I keep going, because the traffic is bad. It changes the dynamics if we think differently, we plan differently. So the image, going back to your question, is a city that is thriving. Again, my litmus test is that the residents are proud and others want to live, work, and play in our city. So everything we do, every department that I talk to, I'm going to be asking that question. You have a plan, you have a project, you have an idea, even with the city council as I talk to them, how is it going to contribute to our pride factor?
So let me ask you.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because as you were describing that, if someone in here was from Alpharetta, they would say, how does your image differentiate from Alpharetta or Roswell or Sandy Springs? Everybody wants to walk, live, work, play. That concept is, at the 50,000 foot level. How would you build that image to where it resonates and it differentiates from other cities?
Well, two things. One, it's an and, not an or. Alpharetta doesn't have the land we have. Alpharetta doesn't have access to the airport that we have. Alpharetta doesn't have a river, the Chattahoochee River, as far as I know. I double checked that now that we've had this conversation. I have a video that I shared last night. I can share it with you after this with the river. And when I showed it to the people, they were like, "That's our river?" They don't realize we have this nice Chattahoochee River back here. So when you think of that, it's an and, I said it's an and, not an or, because we can have the live, work, play, but I still want to live in my nice community that is more quiet, etc. So we can have both, and that's an advantage that we have.
Well, I guess the concern is for my constituents, because they hear live, work, play, and that's a buzzword, just like as you mentioned to Representative Bruce's response, you mentioned economic development. That's another buzzword. So my constituents want to know, not at the 50,000 foot level, but down at the 10,000 foot level. When you say economic development, what do you mean by that?
It's a combination. So we have to clean up. So I know that you have part of your areas of the old National Highway area, and I lived off of Old National Highway from 2001. I was actually just over there with my neighbors. Matter of fact, I'm going to go meet some of my neighbors and go canvassing in a few. My old neighbors over that way. When we change Old National Highway, we can then bring in economic development. We're talking about bringing in jobs for those people in the area. One of the things that I would recommend and work with the City Council to do is to protect the people who already live there by looking at capping some of the people who, for example, certain age groups, to capping their taxes. That's been done and tried in other areas. So you cap for example, the senior who owns their home and has their home, we can cap their taxes so that so even if the price increases, their tax wouldn't increase. We've done that with the Atlanta Beltline TADAC. The homes around the Beltline, we have implemented that program today that has been successful. So you protect the people who live there. But then you also bring jobs closer to people. So, in thinking of the demographics of Old National Highway, you bring jobs, not only service jobs, because the hotel industry is going to expand in that direction. I know firsthand, working at Delta Airlines, that the pilots and flight attendants used to spend a lot of money over on Old National Highway. And they're frustrated because they're stuck at the Quality Inn off of Riverdale Road, and they don't particularly like it. They're looking for better quality hotels. A lot of the pilots and flight attendants are commuters. They live in other cities, but they come in, spend the night before they go to work, or when they come in afterwards. They're looking for that opportunity for clean, safe environment. And so that's what we can offer in terms of economic development specifically for your area. But it doesn't stop there. We start then looking at companies who want to do business. For example, one of my visions is Mercedes-Benz. And I've already had this discussion with planting the seed with a couple of their senior managers. Their vendors, suppliers, coming off the plane from Detroit, Houston, for a 1-hour meeting with Mercedes. They're spending more time in traffic trying to get up to Sandy Springs. Think about it. We offer them to say, we offer a tax abatement if we have to bring that business into the district, providing everyone agrees. Set up a customer client engagement center within the city limits. You bring jobs into our area. It changes the dynamics. Now they can get back and forth to the airport. The number one destination, origin and destination for Delta Airlines International, not Delta Airlines, but for Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, most people don't guess this, and I won't put you on the spot. It's Seoul, South Korea. Korean Air brings in that A380, world's largest jet, into Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. You've got Hyundai, you've got Kia. Keep the factory down in West Georgia and over in Alabama, but you can establish a customer client engagement center showroom within the city of South Fulton. Now it changes the dynamic. You can reach 6 continents directly from Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. Sandy Springs does not have that. Johns Creek does not have that. Even Atlanta, even though technically the airport is in Atlanta, you still have 11 miles to get downtown to Atlanta.
Actually, technically, it's in
Clayton
County.
Yeah, but it's city of Atlanta. Yeah.
Right. I have a question. It's twofold.
Sure.
So, are you knowledgeable?
Keep your answer kind of condensed because we're around it.
Okay.
Are you knowledgeable enough and prepared to sign 20 to 30-year contracts with regards to the functioning of the city that's going to affect not only this generation, another generation? And also, do you see outsourcing as an option to cut some of the expenses in the budget? And if so, why? And if not, why?
Okay. First part of the question is my experience, my background. 30 plus years of business, I have actually signed multi-million-dollar contracts and been responsible for for literally hundreds of millions of dollars, up to one. I was trying to do the math on it, and we came up to 1.5 billion that I've actually been responsible and signed off on. So I understand contracts, out clauses, and all the rest of that. Do I know the details of municipal contracts? The answer is no. But that's where you get a good municipal attorney office, and that's actually kind of a little more difficult to find than I thought it would be, because I've been Googling them. But no, I don't have all the answers, but I don't think that's the mayor's job. That's where you have to have enough information to know to ask the right questions, to have the right staff on board, and that's where it's critical that we choose the right city manager. But I will be looking at that as we do that. I will not sign. I'm doing the Oprah thing. Nobody can sign for me. I'm going to sign it. I'm going to read it before I sign it, because that's just who I am and the kind of detail that I get into. The second part about outsourcing, I think would be irresponsible for any leader to take any option off the table. I think we have to look at every option and make the right decision that is in the best interest of the current and future residents. So while I am not in favor one way or the other, I think it is my responsibility, if I'm blessed to be mayor, to take a look at what that looks like. And if it makes sense in some cases, and I believe it's the right decision, even if it's not popular, as a leader, you have to go out and sell it to the populace and tell them why it's the right decision to make.
Mr. Johnson, how
Yes.
will you protect the investment of the citizens of South Fulton with their homes from having distribution centers pop up in their backyard? What is your plan to protect them?
In the industrial zones. That's part of going back, right? That's why I said it's critical that we get economic development right. The economic development team has to be able to identify where are the industrial zones. So I think that the work that Representative Bruce is doing around Fulton Industrial Boulevard, I've actually met with the Fulton Industrial CID. 40% of it is empty. The problem is that the warehouses that are empty are 20 plus years old. We need to tear them down. That's why Douglas County is beating us on that, because they're building brand new warehouses that match the needs of what is needed. So to answer your question, I believe that we establish what are industrial zones where use that facility that's already there, and then look at the other opportunities. Where else would be appropriate to establish industrial zones? Because the folks at Stonewall Manor are coming out of their 400,000 homes and seeing that monstrosity in front of them. We have Wolf Creek Elementary School surrounded on three sides by trucks that are pulling in. Our kids are going to be suffering from asthma before you know it. So we have to think differently. And so for me, the answer right now would be, based on what I know, would be to look at where we establish industrial zones, because there's money there and there's opportunity and there are jobs there. But where do we establish them? And then close proximity to highways, et cetera, and not going through neighborhoods.
Okay, let's take the last question.
Sure.
Anybody?
Okay, so when you talk about a city manager, so will you look for a city manager that you can persuade into doing what you want done, or will you look for one that actually knows the job and y'all can finesse what's going on, then get your city council to follow, to help you to do it? So how would you hire that person?
My personal style, and even now the way I run my campaign, okay. My problem is that I have a great group of bright people on my team. That's also the great opportunity, is I have a great group of bright people on the team. I don't look for people who are yes people who want to agree with me, because they have to stretch and challenge me and vice versa. So for me, I'm looking for an experienced city manager who hopefully would one that has experience standing a city up, because there are different nuances to that. So just because you may be a city manager of a city doesn't mean that you know how to start a city up. That's very different. So I'm going to be looking for those kinds of skill sets. Also looking for, this is a professional, is going to get paid a lot of money. We need that best opportunity skill sets. I'm not looking for someone to simply say what I would like to do, because I don't know some of the things that I don't know. And I'm looking, and that's one of the things that I consider my strength. When I was interviewing for jobs back in the day, when I get asked that question, I'm smart enough to know what I don't know. And I surround myself with the best people who know better. But I also hold them accountable. And if you ask the people who work on my team, I'm always asking why. Why? How will you do it? What is the outcome? I'm outcome focused, I'm solution focused, so that would be, I'm looking for the city manager who will do that. And like I said, if they come up with a program, my question is going to be, will it instill pride in our people? And in order to do that, you have to have clean streets, safe communities, jobs that people are proud of, that they can say, I'm from the city of South Fulton.
The city of South Fulton is geographically fragmented because of the annexation.
Correct.
How would you, as the mayor, give the impression that these 7 districts feel as one or feel as whole? What would you do to help stimulate that?
One, working with the city council. I have to work with the city council, but I've also been driving all over this city. 2 days ago, I actually drove across the Fayette border to go to Miss Williams, who is a 76-year-old and her husband, white couple that has been living there forever. And they reached out to me wanting to know, what am I going to do for the city? And I drove down, and here I go driving across the Fayette County line. I'm like, am I going the wrong direction? Nope. You actually have to cross into it to come back. Same thing with City of Palmetto, et cetera. Way to do that is to engage the city council members, and that's why important. That's why I believe that, and beyond the ethics and energy that is needed for the leadership, collaboration is needed with the city council. I have been, you saw my long notes that I took at the first meeting. I'm looking for the people who I can work with and how I can work with, and even the ones that don't agree with me, how do I work with them? So for me, it's going to be, I'm planning to go out with the city council representatives, hold town hall meetings in each of the areas so that they feel engaged in going forward. And I already have my access line established. I'm going to keep that line so that they can reach out to me. But the other thing I plan to implement is what we call, right now, is what LaDon Blackett-Jones came up with, the CEOs, the community organizations, engagement organizations. The citizens being engaged in our city with a two-way communication strategy is actually critical for our city, because there's still people who, just today I met, when I left here and washed my car, and a lady said, we actually passed that bill? That's a problem. we need to get them up to speed with on board and proud that they're engaged in this city. So it's a two-way street.
So my question is, if by chance you are not voted as the mayor of the new city, will you stay engaged and assist in helping the city become successful?
Absolutely. After I take a break and go to the beach. After I go to the beach and relax, I did, I said, look, I did that the last time. I took off for Zurich. The mountains, went to Georgia mountains, but after, yes, I can't help myself. It's who I am. It's my DNA. If you had the pleasure of meeting my mother and my father, you see where it comes from. All my life I've been engaged and involved. I don't know how to do anything else. It's where I feel most comfortable. I'll be honest and say I've struggled with the decision financially. Am I, doing this is cost to me. Some people pledge to give up their salary of $23,000. That's not going to pay for gas if you're going to do this job right. Mm-hmm. So this is going to cost me and my family out of my pocket, but it is absolutely the right thing to do. Is where I thrive, is where I feel good when I'm giving back, whether it's helping the lady that just lost her home with the fire or anything. I'm going to be here. Like I told Representative Flood, we were having a conversation and said, oh, no, it's you. I said, I just put in a sprinkler system. Yeah. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. Last question.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming that when you came in the door, you were hoping that we would ask you a particular question, so that you could give it your best shot. What is that question that you were hoping that we asked that we didn't ask? You kind of asked it in a way, and that's around the vision and the future of a city. We are here now. We're going to stand this city up. We have to choose the right leadership, because to your point earlier, and you asked a question around the contracts, whoever we put in charge,
and I'm not just talking about the mayor, I'm talking about the entire city council, and the decisions that they make are going to impact us as residents for the next 20 plus years. We have to make the right decisions. We have examples of other areas that are not successful in working together and collaborating and moving in the right direction. We have to make that work. There is a pride factor here for me personally. So for me, the vision about setting the vision for our residents, where we can go. Imagine, and this is a stretch, but imagine there with me, and this is the answer. 20 years from now, the twin cities of Atlanta and the city of South Fulton, with a river walk along the Chattahoochee, where we're thriving. It can be done. It's been done before, because what we have with the undeveloped land, the access to road, rail, bridges, etc., we have this unique opportunity. No one else in the metropolitan area has this. So that's the opportunity, how we set it up and how we all work together, reaching out to all districts and figuring out how to engage them and show them how they're critical to that success as well, so that everybody feels engaged. But it's about the future.
Okay. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Thank you.